Stop me if this sounds familiar. A group of 4 young friends discover and combat creepy, mysterious forces within their sleepy, secluded forest town with only their bikes and their wits to help them in a show drenched in nostalgia. Nope, I'm not talking about the Netflix smash hit series Stranger Things. I'm talking about Amazon Prime Video's new Tamil original series, Snakes and Ladders, which is clearly heavily inspired by the Netflix show right down to the eerily familiar background score. Instead of Hawkins, Indiana, here we're in Rettamugudu, Tamil Nadu. Who called it Snakes and Ladders and not Vichitramana Visayangal, which I'm told is how you'd say Stranger Things in Tamil unless I got pranked and I just said something outrageously inappropriate. Anyway, the difference between the two shows is that instead of badass, lovable, nerdy kids going up against seedy government scientists and monsters, here it's badass kids going up against gangsters and killers. When a burglar breaks into a young boy's house, he freaks out and manages to lock the thief in a cupboard. The thief has an asthma attack and dies, leaving the young boy and his friends to cover up the death and frantically attempt to stay one step ahead of the cops and the bad guys' ruthless fellow gang members. Created by Kamala Alchemist and Divakar Kamal and produced by the man himself Karthik Subbaraj, Snakes and Ladders is essentially Stranger Things meets Drishyam. It's a hell of a fun premise with so much potential for glorious plotting and delicious dark comedy. The problem is that this banger of a one-liner gets buried in a middling, overlong, unfocused narrative. Snakes and Ladders is 9 long episodes, a punishing length it certainly doesn't earn. It's almost as if the creators were trying to emulate what they think a series should be by taking their promising premise and drowning it in excessive subplots, unnecessary characters and backstories, and lethargic cold opens. Going bigger and wider doesn't necessarily lead to better. What could have been a tight, focused, smashing pilot episode, for example, here takes 2 long, feet-dragging episodes to fully establish the characters and stakes of what these kids have to deal with and who they're up against. It also doesn't help that the narrative keeps jumping away from the juicy predicament of the 4 friends to provide lengthy introductions to various uninteresting gangster characters led by an apparent mastermind named Leo, played by a one-note Naveen Chandra. Even the escalation of events through the episodes is strictly serviceable. It's only from the 6th episode onwards that things seem to ramp up and really kick into gear. When Snakes and Ladders is able to recognize its strengths, there's a lot of fun to be had here. I like that the show takes these young characters seriously. I enjoyed watching Gilly played by M.S. Samrit, Bala played by Tarun Yuvraj, Irai played by a standout S. Surya Raghaveshwar, and Sandy played by S. Surya Kumar, constantly scheming and strategizing and misadventuring to stay ahead of both cops and robbers. Whether it's watching them having to dig up the buried corpse at least once an episode to help cover their tracks, or how at one point they even dig up the thief's corpse to orchestrate a photo shoot with the body to try and prove that the dead bad guy is still alive. Or else the scene when the group have a genuine, sincere conversation about whether to use chloroform on one of their parents. Or even that the 4 are bullying and beating on the popular school senior who's much older than them. Or take the sequence where dangerous mastermind Leo is canvassing an elderly woman's house only to flee the scene because she keeps asking him to help with domestic chores. But these remain stray moments and sequences. Snakes and Ladders also has a tone problem. It's positioned as a dark comedy / unlikely thriller, but frequently jumps into forced, tiring melodrama and heavy-handed emotion, which certainly isn't the strength of the series. I like the idea that the kids are grappling with the implications and guilt of their actions and killing bad guys in self-defense, but after a point the narrative seems to get bored of examining their guilt. All of which leads to a poorly staged, big action blowout in the finale, where the show seems to lose all sense of who its protagonists even are. What we're left with is an intermittently engaging series that may be competent and coherent, but rarely springs to life or leaps off the screen. Somewhere within Snakes and Ladders is a great little movie or punchier, perhaps 5 to 6 episode show. The real crime here is watching a great premise robbed of its potential and everything it could have been. You can watch Snakes and Ladders on Amazon Prime Video. For more reviews like that one, subscribe to The Hollywood Reporter India.